look at how that just drags its way up a hill in a corner. I mean, this is just some really technically incredible stuff. Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and welcome to the all-new GR Corolla from Toyota. This is the GR Corolla Core with the performance package, so it has front and rear limited slip differentials. Yes, this has the GR4 all-wheel drive system, and it is incredibly impressive. And today we're going to take it out and get our first impressions on this, because I bought a Honda Civic Type R, and this GR Corolla was launched just before the FL5 was launched, and that has been the big question. Why would you buy this over that? Why would you buy that over this? And I gotta say, they drive completely differently, but they are impressive. And they both have around 300 horsepower. This makes 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque from its 1.6 liter 3-cylinder engine. It has a turbocharger and it feels very boosted. Let's get under the hood and take a look. And there it is. Not a whole lot to see buried under a sea of plastic, but it's a small, light little 3-cylinder that gets the job done. The GR Corolla comes equipped with a Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tire, a 235 section tire up front and in the rear. This square setup on 18-inch wheels seems pretty suitable for the road. The size of the car is pretty convenient because you can live your little hot hatch dreams, but it's very ordinary inside. There's really no fussy things, and this comes in at under $36,000 with the performance package on the Core. You definitely feel that it's cheaper than the FL5. You do, however, get a rear middle passenger seat, so you can fit 5 people in the GR Corolla. You can't do that in the Civic. The rear of the car is really distinct with this 3-tipped exhaust, and unlike the 3-tipped exhaust on the FL5, these are spread out across the whole rear of the vehicle. Big, chunky bumper back here, lots of plastic. And then in our hatch, pretty high load floor, but that leaves room for your battery, I guess for the sake of weight and balance or packaging. So let's get out there and have a first taste of the GR Corolla. So we've got some different drive modes, and we can do 60-40 front to the rear, 30-70 front rear, or track mode, which supposedly is 50-50. Then we have our rev match button here and some other stuff, and a handbrake. Oh, good golly, Miss Molly, a handbrake. Plus we have our drive modes. We're gonna go into sport, and let's go see what this is like to drive. Ooh, man, this exhaust already sounds pretty raucous. I'm psyched. So we've got 300 horsepower, a 3-cylinder engine. I want to try this rev matching on for size as well. Ooh, that's nice. And for a little while, this thing was sort of the holy grail of the car world, of the cheap car world. Even though it's not cheap, we're still in that sort of like $36,000 to $50,000 range, depending on what model you opt for. However, this or Type R has been the question, because everyone that wants to comment about my Type R says, why didn't you get a GR Corolla? And this thing is pretty cool. It's all-wheel drive. It allows you to send even more power to the rear than the front. And that's a pretty big deal, because that means that you can go sideways. You can drift the thing under power. That's amazing. And for someone like me in New England with snow and some crummy conditions, that can be really valuable. I love the way this thing pulls its way out of a corner. It doesn't induce understeer, which is lovely. Steering wheel, nice and small, fits in the hands perfectly, and I mean small both in diameter and in grip. I've got to get used to this engine a little bit. It doesn't, I believe it's 300 horsepower, but the way this little 3-cylinder pulls up to redline, it's not the most linear, and I've got to give points to the Type R for that. That feels like a more honest 300 than this. Oh, but my goodness, the way this thing settles into a corner, absolutely bonkers. Wow, wow, wow. And you can get on throttle and it doesn't understeer under power because it can send that power to the rear. How cool. I like the way it hits these bumps too. Wow. It's so neutral. You know, it's funny, it really does still feel like a Toyota. Like, I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it does have a little bit of cheapness to it. You know, like, it doesn't have sort of the refinement that I find in the Type R. I think these seats, while supportive, are not as impressive as what's in the Honda. But part of that is actually the charm. Like, when I get into, say, like an old Celica GT4 from the 90s, I think it's fun getting in a car that has really familiar controls and gauges and knowing that I'm in something with this cool all-wheel drive system. That's really special to be able to get into that. Like, if you could have a 95 Camry that was all-wheel drive and 300 horsepower and it looked like a 95 Camry inside, I think you'd take it. There's a lot of grip. And a lot of confidence on throttle. I don't know that I could do that in a Civic Type R. I'm already in second. Low friction, this thing is just an absolute animal. Super woo! Wow, I am blown away. This is capable. Oh, I want to drive this in the snow. I want to drive this in the gravel. Look at that. Look at that. You can feel it putting power down all over the place. But it doesn't feel like synthetic. It doesn't feel like some silly video game. It's like a rally car. This is like driving an actual rally car. Oh, and it feels light. Oh, it feels light. This is where this thing feels at home, like this tight, nasty stuff. There's cars in like low grip environments that I don't think I would feel quite as confident doing that. This car is right. It's so good. Gazoo Racing knows what's up. So tactility wise, I don't think this shifter feels as good as the Honda Civic Type R, but it's precise. I'm not wondering if I'm gonna hit my gear. It's always there when I need it. It just feels a little plasticky, and I think that's the overall vibe from all the surfaces and things that I'm touching in this car. It just feels a little plasticky. But none of it matters because this powertrain, this driveline is outrageous. It's hard to complain about like, oh, the shifter feels a little plasticky when you can turn in like that and get on power and feel it send it to the rear. Oh my goodness. What a car. Steering feel, it's light. It's not the most communicative thing in the world, but I have no question about what's going on with the front axle. This is cool. The sound is not the most exciting thing, but it's not bad. And I think we're in a place now with a lot of cars where the sound can be bad. It can be really muted. It can be really boring. Or for that matter, it could be electric and have like really no good sounds. So I have nothing to complain about on that front. Especially for a 3-cylinder, it's got a nice little rasp to it. Braking, again, not as good as the Type R, not as confidence-inspiring as the Type R, but good nonetheless. I'm not concerned that I'm going to lose it or that I'm not going to be able to brake before something goes awry. It's hard not to compare this GR Corolla to the FL5. They are pretty much head-to-head despite being very different vehicles and philosophies. But I will say this has a lot more character, and not necessarily for all the right reasons. Some of its charm comes from its faults. It's got a laggy engine. This turbo takes a little bit of time to get into boost, but that's fun. It makes it feel more like an exciting rally car. Its all-wheel drive system allows you to put down power in places where you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And while we follow a 997.1 GT3 through these canyons, this Corolla seems to be pretty confidence-inspiring, we'll put it that way. I'm just blown away by how it can tackle some pretty outrageous obstacles and always manages to be confident and poised. It just doesn't have much down low, where the FL5 gives you a lot of low down torque. This does not. I mean, not a lot of low down torque, but more. Getting this car off the line is a little trickier, let's say, than the Civic Type R. The 6-speed manual gearbox is good, but it feels a little plasticky in comparison to the Honda. And that's not even really a slight to this. It's just that the Honda's transmission is so good, that shifter is so incredible, that it's really difficult to hold a candle to that. So, but look at how that just drags its way up a hill in a corner. I mean, this is just some really technically incredible stuff, and starts to feel like a real sports car. Imagine being in a GT3 and thinking, man, I think I got to pull off for that Corolla. If you didn't know what this was and you just thought it was like a regular Corolla, it would be pretty mind-blowing and mind-numbing to think that it can do this. It just feels a lot more blunt than the Civic, we'll put it that way. The Civic is a very sharp machine. This feels quite a bit more dull in some respects, but still, wow, really capable in these corners. And we're not even going all out. We're still leaving room on the table for mishaps. I think in 10 years, this GR Corolla is going to be a real unicorn. People are going to really wish they went and found one of these when they were new. Because I got to say, this all-wheel drive system is incredible. It is so incredible. And it just makes you want to push it as hard as you possibly can. It feels so light on its feet. It's still, you know, a bit heavier due to the powertrain in comparison to the FL5, but still, I can forgive all of kind of like the cheap interior bits because of how impressive this car handles. Great turning radius, especially, you know, for an all-wheel drive vehicle. I think the drivetrain of this is what this car really has going for it. The 3-cylinder turbo, it's a fun engine, it's a cool engine. It's not my favorite. It really does a lot of work, and it makes the most of what it is, and it stays light. It does, you know, carry on with the philosophy of the car, but it's the way that this car delivers the power to the ground, which is the true beauty of the GR Corolla. The steering is very light, almost too light. I think I'm gonna not say almost, I think it's too light. I think the steering in this car is too light, and it's a little bit numb. I don't get that much feedback from it. I feel like I get more from my Civic than I get from this thing. But because, wow, I just can't believe how you can put power down in this car. I mean, I've been in rear-wheel drive, rear engine, mid-engine, front engine cars all day, and I cannot do what I can do in this GR Corolla. This is like the ultimate canyon monster. Wow, I mean, you just get into the throttle, it sorts itself out and it puts the power where it needs to go. You won't get caught up in it. Want to be cautious. There's no reason to go fast if you know that there might be a cyclist or something going on, someone taking a picture in the road. So there you have it, my first impressions of the GR Corolla. Very different than the Honda Civic Type R. I don't think it's quite as knife-edged as the Type R, but I think because it's all-wheel drive and because this all-wheel drive system is so good, it gets away with a lot. Interior-wise, again, I don't think it's as good as the Honda, but it serves its purpose, and that's what this car seems to be doing. It's sort of like a bare-bones minimalist approach to something extraordinary, and it accomplishes that goal. So thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.